All right, the Bahrain Grand Prix done and dusted, and here are 3 of my takeaways following this race. Takeaway number 1, can Max Verstappen be as dominant this season as he was last season? My answer to that is a cautious no. Look, Max Verstappen is an incredible driver, obviously, super talented, but the RB20 is a very great race car. Not a great qualifying car, but a very strong race car. So when it comes down to maybe potentially races where it's difficult to pass, tracks that are difficult to pass on, that's where I see you could have different teams who qualify well, get in the way, make things really difficult for the RB20 to get race victories. The other part of that is Ferrari. I think the SF24 is a very strong race car. Speaking with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz following the Bahrain Grand Prix, they feel they've got a platform now where they can build upon, and they do think that they can put pressure on Red Bull Racing in certain races later on down the road. So can Max Verstappen win every single Grand Prix this year? I don't think so. I think that's going to be very difficult this year. But that being granted, Verstappen, obviously the favorite coming into every single race, and obviously the favorite to win this World Championship. I just don't feel it's going to be as easy later on in the season as it was last year. Takeaway number 2 has to be Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Remember this, Carlos Sainz has been showing the door at Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton's coming in to take his spot in 2025. So for Carlos Sainz, he's got to put on a good show. He's got to do better, obviously, than Charles Leclerc, but he has to make himself stand out from the rest. There are seats that are going to be available for Carlos Sainz up and down this paddock, i.e. Mercedes has an opening, obviously, with Lewis Hamilton leaving, but so does Sauber. And that's an interesting option because Sauber's going to be bringing Audi on board in 2026. Carlos Sainz would be a good fit there to help usher in Audi, get that team back up on its feet. Now, in this race, granted, Charles Leclerc did have brake issues, but Carlos Sainz did admit to us that he had brake issues as well. I don't think they were as severe as what Leclerc was having to deal with, but that being granted, he put on a good show. He performed really well. His final stint, super strong. It's the qualifying, I think, that Carlos needs to work on this season. Takeaway number 3 has to be the battle between Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo and that relationship. At the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix, on the cooldown lap, Yuki Tsunoda dive-bombed Daniel Ricciardo, a very dangerous move on a cooldown lap, and then tried to rejoin the track in an aggressive manner and almost took both of them out on a cooldown lap. Now remember, we are in a cost cap, so that's going to cost you money if you're damaging both race cars. Also heard that following the Grand Prix, Laurent Mekies was spotted having a fairly heated conversation with Yuki Tsunoda's manager. Laurent Mekies, RB's new team principal, and now he's got to figure out how he's going to cool down the temperature between Yuki and Daniel. Remember, both of those drivers would be gunning for Sergio Perez's seat for next year.